Hello and welcome to Transform My Trading Market Update for Wednesday, October 16, 2019. I mainly want to cover the YM today. In fact, the chart you guys are looking at is the micro mini contract, but it's basically the same. The setups are all the same on all markets. Uh, just want to kind of go over the support and resistance levels and the angles, and to show you guys how well the market worked even on a day like this when the trading was extremely narrow. We basically had an inside day for all markets. So when I say all markets, NQ and ES and YM, so even today we had a very good opportunity to trade this market based on the levels. Let's start from the overnight session. If as you can see, overnight market was in a downtrend, and it actually found support at one of my key levels here, which was 26,919. Okay, and then it was kind of going nowhere. Tried to go higher, but then there was actually that news, whatever the news was, on like 5:30 Pacific time. I'm assuming it was the consumer index or employment something, or I usually don't follow the news. So uh, let's look at the I mean, market went crazy. I wasn't up to trade there anyway, and even if I'm trading, I would have been stepped out uh, in the at this bar actually. So, and I'll show you guys a trade that I did later on during the day where some news came up and it took me out, but uh, I had my protection via stop, so there was no big deal. Uh, so once the market opened, I didn't take any trades. Uh, the first few bars are pretty crazy, but there was actually, for scalping purposes, you could have traded. I didn't trade. I let the markets do its thing. My first trade was at around here when market touched my angle and it dropped. And I did that trade off of the 1 minute chart, by the way. Okay, look at here how the market came up, double topped at my angle, and gave us a divergence on RSI, and the market was in overbought condition. So I traded here. I went short here, and when market came back down to the next level, I went out. There was another good place to go long here. Once market came back up, I didn't trade that, so I let the market kind of do its thing after that. My next trade came in at the top when market reached the 27,010 level, 27,010 level, uh, and it hit my level, it hit my angle, and on a 5 minute, it wasn't really overbought, but there was a divergence there. But if you look at the 1 minute chart, market was in overbought and very good divergence. So entry was at the right there, 908 bar. Okay, these are Pacific Standard Time. So that was the second trade of the day. And the other thing I want to point out to you guys, the reason I have this blue line here, now this was already telling me the market, this was a top for the market, at least for that time. So the probability based on my angles and my support and resistance levels, the probability for the market to go down was pretty strong, given that it touched there twice. RSI was in overbought condition. But then we had another confirmation, and that confirmation was this. If most of my followers and my subscribers, they know that as soon as the market opens, I draw a gold line here, and that's basically my day session open line. Okay, and that acts as support and resistance, and that sometimes it's the line in the sand for the entire day. All right. Uh, The next open that we can look at is the overnight session open. And in today's case, that the overnight session opened at 27,016. The high of that bar was 27,016. That's why I put those two blue lines there, just to remind myself to mention that uh, you don't have to look at that all the time, but and it takes time for you guys to see that. But once you see that, and then once you see the market has reached a level, my support and resistance level, my angles, and it's an overbought condition, and you have a confirmation like this, another third confirmation, then boom, that's another uh, level of that's basically increasing the probability that what you're doing is correct in terms of, in our case, our decision was to short the market. Then given the fact that it touched my level, it touched my angle, and there was a third confirmation with the overnight session open. So it gives us more confidence in the trade. That trade was actually, it went down almost 40 to 50 points. So depending on how many contracts you traded, it could have, that was a healthy profit right there. Okay. Once market broke this line here, this level, it was indication that it was going to continue to go further down. All right. And then market dropped, of course. And then let me put a 1 minute chart. When it came down here, I actually uh, market. This was a scalping trade. You guys shouldn't do this if you could should just follow the angles and the levels. But I just want to mention this because of this bar right there. I went long here when I saw this divergence on RSI off of the 1 minute chart, and I went with two contracts. I took profit on the first, and on the second, I was an entry plus two, I believe. And some kind of news must have come out at 10:43, and it took me out, which is fine. You know, it's as long as I'm protected, uh, we're all good. Luckily, it didn't gap down, but again, it's I got out, and then once I got out, I went back in here. I went back in there because look at how the market was in oversold condition, and look at the divergence on 5 minute RSI right there. Forget about this long bar. You know, that's the news driven bar. Okay. The true market was market made a low here, tried to do a double bottom at this level. It never materialized to go further down. It found support with the divergence. And look at how this level right there was holding. Look at this bar. I mean, it never even closed below it. Uh, so that was a good trade to go in. That was my third trade of the day, well, fourth, if you consider this one. And then market climbed higher, and then it came all the way back to the day session high, or the even to this level right there, the overnight session open. But it never reached that level. It it would stop short of 27,016 or 27,010, and that was an indication that the market didn't have any more energy to go higher. If the market was going to go higher, if the buyers were there, this market from here should have continued higher. The fact that it stopped here to my level right there, market was in overbought condition. It was an indication that there was an opportunity to sell this market. This was basically telling us, please short me. Okay, this was a very, very, very safe short right there. And on 1 minute chart, if you looked at it, market went up, it came down and broke the angle, and anywhere below the angle was a good place to go short. Okay, and market then dropped to the next angle right there. So remember, market usually goes from one angle to the other. Look at how it went from here to here. And on 1 minute, market was in oversold condition, and it touched. You guys can't see this bar. Let me see. Look at this reversal bar right there on the 1 minute. Market came down, touched my angle, And this magenta line, by the way, that's the day session pivot. You guys should all have it on there. Sometimes it works. Most of the time, it's good to have it because the market in general uses day session pivot. Okay. In fact, there are people out there all they sell is the day session pivot numbers and call it as their own system. But there's any program, any software program, charting program will have that in there for you. So you guys should always put that on there because that's a confirmation, additional confirmation. In my case, for example, today market came down, it touched my level, my angle actually, and then it touched the day session pivot there. So there was a second confirmation. Third, the market was in oversold condition. I actually went long here. Now this is an aggressive, I consider this an aggressive trade, but for like 15, 20 point profit, there's nothing wrong with that within, this was about 15 minutes. Okay. And if you're playing with two and multiple contracts, that adds up. Okay. And that's basically it. Those were the trades of the day mainly. I just wanted to give you guys an idea how even today, day like this, the levels and angles and being patient and disciplined gives you good source of profits. You guys should, if you can, print this chart. This setup right there on the 1 minute chart, that's an ideal setup. And when market came back up here, that's a very safe trade to sell also. So print it, keep this chart in front of you just so you could remind yourself the setup and the opportunities, excuse me. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me and or respond to this video or Twitter. I will get back to you guys about the program. Thank you again and have a great trading.